Let's stay with this too, shall we? More analysis on this new agreement between Mexico and ongoing trade talks. Let's bring in William Pellerin, who's an international trade lawyer with Macmillan LLP. Let's talk. First of all, good morning. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I want to get into this too a little bit more from Judy. And you heard Judy talking about some of the trade numbers and some of this deal in particular. Now, Mexico is in Canada's top 3 trading partners in the world right now. Whether clearly geography playing a part in that, the North American Free Trade Agreements and CUSMA, at least at this point. From what details you've seen and some of what Judy just detailed as well, what do you believe this means for Canada in this possible opportunity for growth?
Yeah, I think there's opportunities there. We've known this for a long time. It's still, 1/20th of the U.S. relationship in terms of trade, so there's certainly room to grow. Of course, the Mexican consumer is not going to replace the American consumer anytime soon, but nonetheless, particularly on things like energy, ports, infrastructure, rail, certainly a lot of room for growth here. But I think this is really geared more about creating a common front with Mexico as we gear up for the CUSMA renegotiations in the coming months.
William, I want to talk about that in just a second, but can you expand, for people that are wondering, clearly ports make sense, I think, for a lot of people understanding the geography of this, but as the U.S. separates with Canada and Mexico, how does rail, how, does some of these other, pathways that we're looking at that these two countries are agreeing to, where is that growth and what are those opportunities?
Yeah, so there's a number of major rail projects and rail yards. And in fact, the Prime Minister traveled to Mexico with leading rail CEOs there. So there's complete integration in the rail lines, north-south now. And so it's very important to make sure that the infrastructure is there to support the growth in the first place, to create that access for those goods. So it's absolutely time to continue to grow the relationship. And that's fine, even if it does go through the United States in many cases. That doesn't mean that it doesn't support the overall relationship between Canada and Mexico.
Right, and I want to ask you too. You touched on CUSMA, and we talked about the launching of this negotiation process between the 3 countries and the possibility, it sounds like, of a new trilateral agreement, at least at this point. What's your take on where this is headed? Do you believe that, again, an agreement like this, Canada and Mexico, is this going, outside of the U.S.? Is this going to frustrate the president of the United States, at least at this point? Or is this just Canada and Mexico really trying to get on the same page before heading into these negotiations?
I think it's the latter here. This is not a trade agreement that does anything really different than the USMCA, which is truly a trade agreement, the CUSMA. So this is more about defense and security and tackling issues that, frankly, are irritants to the United States, including, money laundering allegations or drugs or cartels and the like. And then the piece around the infrastructure growth and infrastructure investment is an additional nice to have. But it really is about making sure that we're singing from the same songbook and that Mexico and Canada are not going to get played off of one another as the United States ramps up its desire to make some changes to the CUSMA.
William Pellerin, international trade lawyer with Macmillan LLP. Appreciate your time today. Thank you for this.
Thanks for having me.